Someone who is connected to the divine is pure magic. Um, they have a source. That means they don't have the need to get external validation from external sources. In other words, they can recharge just by being by themselves and on their own. Yeah, I know some would call it being introverted, right? And as you guys know, introverts recharge by themselves and not from other people or by being around other people, right? And so I don't think it's necessarily an extroversion and introversion thing, okay? You can also be both, right? You can be an ambivert. You can be a little bit of an extrovert and an introvert, right? And so there's that. So, but for the most part, this is not really connected to that. It's more connected to being connected to yourself, to your own soul, and in turn connected to the divine. And so this is how you get your ideas. This is how you get your original ideas. This is how you get your downloads of information. Without this connection, you're unable to get original ideas. And so what you go around doing is basically just repeating, uh, things to everyone else that you've heard about, okay, and that you've read about. And while to an extent, doing some of that is normal, okay, because we learn from one another, right, and we then repeat this information to other people, right, in order to share with them, in order to teach them, in order to to have interesting discussions, right? So some of it is very normal, but uh, when you're completely disconnected, you're not able to get these intuitive, these original downloads of information, okay? And therefore, you will just parrot what everyone else is saying, okay? You will not have your own original ideas, basically, right? If you can consider, if you can even consider them your own, right? And so, which in reality they're not, right? But narcissists, right, they are unable um, to do any of that, okay? And so this video is going to be about, it's going to be about narcissists and how they get their supply from people like this, okay? From people who, or they try to find their supply from people like this, okay? And so people that are connected, right, you can call them to their soul, to their essence, and to the divine world, are extremely powerful because they're kind of like, uh, they're like batteries that are always recharged, okay? And so getting someone like this, right? And a lot of people in this world, they're not like this, right? They're completely disconnected too, right? And so they feel the need to steal each other's energy, right? They need to dress a certain way. Perhaps ladies dress very promiscuously, right? It, of course, it doesn't always relate to energy, okay, and stealing that energy from men, right? But to an extent, it does, right? So even dressing a certain way and I don't know, seeking attention, right? It's the attention seeking that is ultimately all about energy, okay? And so ladies can do that, right? Men can do this too, believe it or not, right? It's called like peacocking, right? And also dressing a certain way that really makes you stand out, right? And so that's why also you will see a lot of narcissists, right? um, and also, just so you guys know, right, there's a difference between having your own unique style, okay, and also dressing for attention, right? Narcissists tend to dress for attention. They tend to dress differently from everyone else, right? Maybe perhaps in the community, just so they can get this attention, okay? Because at the end of the day, they cannot generate their own, right, energy, and so they need to steal it. They need to provoke people. They need to, and they will get this attention just like a child, right? In any way that they can, be it a negative attention or a positive attention, right? But anyways, when it comes to empaths, right, or godly people, narcissists tend to find people like this to attach to, okay? So they tend to go after someone who generates a lot of this energy from source, okay? And this is their best battery ever, okay? This is a supply that they will probably not find anywhere else, or they're not gonna find for a very long time, if ever, okay? Because empaths, godly people, right, or earth angels, they don't come along very often. They're extremely rare, right? And there are not too many of them around the world, okay? If you consider, how many people we have in this world, right? And so people like this, for the most part, and if they do come across a narcissist, okay, once again, they're there to help them in some way, to help them, to guide them, okay, and to deliver karma, okay. And so these people, or to blow off their egos, basically, right? That's what happens with an awakened empath. Someone who has come to their true power, right? Like an empath who has recognized their power, is going to come into the vicinity of a narcissist, and they have healed, right? They have awakened to their true power, and so they're not going to be giving their power away. They're very aware of energy, right, and how it works, and so they're going to be very aware. They can also read people like a book, right? And so when they come into the vicinity of a narcissist, they're going to recognize that person for who they are, right? And so they're not really going to engage, okay. And if they do, this engagement is going to be very, very painful for the narcissist, okay? As they're going to be, the empath is going to be exposing the narcissist. They're going to be like the mirror, the perfect mirror to the narcissist, and they're going to show them who they are, right? So the narcissist is going to be blown away by this image, because they're a very nasty, very evil person, and they're going to see the empath, the awakened empath, is going to show them this image, to the narcissist. The narcissist will see this image of themselves, right? And the empath is going to deliver it, okay? And so there's that, right? But let's get back to the supply, right? And to the unawakened empath. The unawakened empath still is very unaware of a lot of things, right? And so they might go into a relationship with a narcissist thinking that they're going to save them somehow, thinking that they're going to help them, and what really gets to us, right? What gets us is seeing that wounded narcissistic self, or that wounded child that's within a narcissist, right? Not a narcissistic self, but that wounded child, right? That hurt child that we see so well when we meet the narcissist. And so that really gets us. It's that child that we connect with, and that we stay with, and that, we stay because in those painful, or we have stayed in those painful relationships with the narcissist because of that wounded child that we see, right, or we saw. And and so that's why most you know even in the beginning, this relationship starts out uneven, right? And we usually stayed because we felt sorry for the narcissist, right? There was no really true love, right? And it didn't start out as like on equal footing, right? Where you see the person as someone who is powerful, someone who is, equal to you, right? You went into that relationship probably hoping or thinking that you can save them, that you can help them, that you can pull them out of darkness, that you can, that they can become their that you can heal their wounded inner child, basically, okay? And that was a huge mistake, right? But anyways, because the mistake was in thinking that you can save them or you can pull them out, okay? Once again, the person has to want to change themselves, and if they don't, they don't, right? So there's nothing you can do about it. And so you became, unfortunately, you became the narcissist's best supply, the best supply that they will ever have, okay? And the reason being, right, is because you have such an amazing energy about you, that you are such a big-hearted person, and you have so much empathy and so much compassion to offer. And even when you were wounded and unhealed, you still had such a huge heart, and you still helped so many people, even when you were not aware of that. Okay, so there's a reason why so many people reached out to you and so many people tried to speak to you, and you're always kind of like, I don't know, people came to you and told you their deepest and darkest secrets, right? And so you're like the confession stand in the church, right? People just come to you, and kids, it doesn't matter who it is, right? It's kids, it's adults, and they just tell you, they feel compelled to tell you their deepest and darkest secrets. And that's always been the case in your life, right? And so um, yeah, there's that, right? And so because people can sense your energy, they know that you're very kind-hearted. They know that you're always going to help them if they need it, right? And you're very empathetic, right? And so you have a lot of compassion. You have been through hell and back, right? And so you know what it's like, and so you can understand people on a deeper level, right? And so being around you is extremely healing, right? And you don't put others down, right? And so you don't you want to see everyone succeed, right? And so you offer a lot of, you're a huge asset basically, okay, to anyone that comes across you. And because of that, right, you're the greatest source to to the narcissist, okay? uh, because yeah, they were always recharged around you, okay? And because you guys exchanged energies, right, a lot of things in their life started going right. They started benefiting from your energy. They started piggyback, oh my gosh, I can't speak, piggyback riding from your energy, okay? They started piggyback riding on your coattails, right? Thinking that it was them, right? Thinking that they were finally lucky and things were coming to them, and they started getting all these opportunities and their businesses started thriving. They had no idea that it actually came from your energy, okay? Not only that, but they were also very protected, okay? So because of your energy, they were spiritually protected. As you guys know, right, in the spiritual world, it's the woman that protect, okay? And it's the males that protect in the physical, or are supposed to protect in the physical, right? Not so much nowadays, okay, guys? Not always, right? And not so much, but that's how it should be basically, right? And so um, yeah, the narcissist got away with a lot of things, okay? They were protected also, okay? And so when you walked away, when you finally recognized your power, when you took your power back, they lost that privilege. They lost their spiritual protection, okay? So a lot of them have died, okay? And they have died, guys, because they messed with you. They messed with the wrong individual, okay? In a spiritual world, someone who's a God's child, someone, the chosen one, right? They're extremely protected, okay? And you do not want to mess with them, okay? Because if you do, right, then a lot of bad things will happen to you afterwards, okay? This is just the way that it goes. I have seen this in my life, guys, over and over again. When I walked away, a lot of these people passed out, my own mom, right? And yeah, abusing an individual who's a godly child, who's the chosen one, who has such a huge purpose, who came to this world to, impact uh, thousands of lives, right? Is going to cost you, okay? If you're an individual that's very dark, and but yeah, for the most part, like I said right before, that narcissists are very unconscious, right? So they're not really aware of what they're doing. But spiritually speaking, I think they are, okay? So maybe physically speaking, they're not aware of what they're doing and why they're attacking the empath. But spiritually speaking, they are aware, right? And so it's going to cost them, okay? When the empath walks away, it's going to cost them a lot. And that's why you will see the narcissist will start deteriorating, literally, okay? They're going to start losing their health, getting incredibly sick, you know, because they no longer have that best source that they had, right, with which they were prospering, right? And so because the empath walked away from them, they're going to start losing their health, losing their wealth, losing their positions of power, losing everything basically, and even they can even end up losing their lives, okay? And that's because they abused someone very powerful in the spirit world, okay? And so, you know, or someone with a really, really big destiny, right? And someone that has a lot of potential, and that someone that, you know, should not be messed with, basically, right? And so, yeah, a lot of these narcissists, they will, you know, end up losing their lives. Yeah, a lot of these narcissists will end up, you know, completely broke, okay, damaged, and their physical health will completely deteriorate, right? They're going to start losing their teeth, they're going to start getting cancer, they're going to start basically, you know, getting extremely, extremely ill, okay? And yes, they will try to, they might try to come back, okay, to an unawakened empath, if that relationship began with an unawakened empath, and if that empath is still unawakened, then they will try to hoover back. They're going to try to come back and get their source back, obviously, right? But you know, yeah. And so coming back to these individuals is a huge mistake, okay? They're just after you, they're just after your energy. They don't care about you as a person. In fact, you might not even be their physical type, and if you are, they're going to tell you you're not their type, you know? So they're going to make you feel like garbage, okay? They're going to project onto you, they're going to dump all of their trauma onto you, and they're going to drain you completely. They're going to drain your life force. They're going to get you disconnected from your soul, right? And their ultimate goal is just to kill you, right? And they want you to end your life. And if you ever say something about that, they're going to laugh and they're going to say, do it. You know, I literally had this happen to me, guys. It is like the most disgusting and disturbing thing, okay? But behind a narcissist is a demon, okay? And that individual is beyond dark and beyond saving, okay? So you should never try to save them or even feel sorry for them, okay? Although yes, you can feel sorry for them, okay? And but don't go there, okay? Just don't go there. So yeah, guys, thank you so much for watching, okay? And stay tuned for more videos, okay?